Welcome to this session of energy conservation and management. Our topic is today is about energy scenario. So first of all, we will discuss about that course objective and course outcome of this paper. Course objective. The course objective of this subject is to impart basic knowledge to the student about current energy scenario, energy conservation, audit, management, to inculcate among the student systematic knowledge and skills about assessing the efficiency, energy auditing and energy management. Course outcome: upon successful of this course, student will be able to obtain knowledge about energy conservation policies, regulations and business practices. Designed to improve the thermal efficiency by designing suitable systems of heat recovery and cogeneration. Analyze the energy audit method. Learn to identify the areas deserving tighter control to save energy expenditure. And last of all, evaluate the cost benefit analysis of various investment alternatives for meeting the energy needs of the conservation. Course content. In this course content of this paper, first of all we have energy resources, finite and renewable sources. Next module, the need of energy conservation, estimation and finite fuel resources, and Hubert's model for oil reserves. In third module, we will discuss the total energy concept, CHP cycle, that is combined heat power cycle, and their applications. Number 4th unit will be waste heat recovery, waste heat exchanger, commercial waste heat exchanger devices, recapitator and regenerative heat exchanger, heat pipes, etc. Next, in the 5th module, it has industrial energy conservation, industrial insulations, case studies for HVAC, that is known as heating, ventilation, air conditioning, air compressor, material handling and other system, study of energy efficiency method. Number 6 module, it is energy audit, basic steps, graphical representation and case studies. The number 7th module, last module, the economics of energy saving scheme, cost and investment analysis. And these are the recommended books we have, that is Energy Management Marpi, WR Marpi, Energy Management Audit and Conservation Borunde, and Stop and Croft Energy Efficiency, etc., and Turner's Engineering Management Handbook. So in module 1, that is energy resources, finite and renewable. Now, what is the definition of energy? First of all, we all know that energy is the capacity of physical system to perform work. Energy exists in several forms such as heat, kinetic or mechanical energy, light, potential energy, electrical or other forms. According to the law of conservation of energy, the total energy of the system remains constant, though energy may transform into another form, and energy is major inputs for economic development of any country. In the case of developing countries, the energy sector assumed a critical importance in the view of the ever increasing energy needs requiring huge. Because we know that there is from the fossil fuel, it contains heat energy, it contains chemical energy. That chemical energy is burned, and after burning, that is, it is converted to other high grade energy in the form of shaft work, electrical work, etc., and that is distributed through the cables to the various industries and household. Energy can be classified into several steps. It can be classified into the following criteria, that is primary energy and secondary energy, commercial and non-commercial energy, renewable and non-renewable energy, etc. Now, primary and secondary energy. Primary energy, that is, we have coal, nuclear, natural gas, petroleum, etc. Why? Because this is primary energy sources are those that are either found or stored in nature. Common primary energy sources are, as discussed, that is coal, oil, natural gas, etc. Other primary energy available, and that is including the nuclear energy from radioactive substances, thermal energy stored into the Earth's interior, and potential energy due to the Earth's gravity. The major primary and secondary energy sources are, that is, in this figure it is shown here. So first of all, how the coal, that is, it found in deep mines or in open mines also in some places, and we need to some preparation. We need to separate the coal from other things, other stones, etc. We need to separator, and that coal can be used as an primary fuel in industry, in steel industry, in power plant, thermal power plant, coal thermal power plant, etc. And after preparation, we can go for purification also, this coal, and that gives us coke. And coke is extensively used in industry, basically in steel industry and chemical industry. Now another form, that is, we have, that is primary energy, that is nuclear energy, and it is also found in mining. That is, some radioactive elements are there that we need to be refined, and we need to enrichment that substance. After that, instead of coal, we can generate power from that enrichment fuel, that is called nuclear fuel. Natural gas is very limitedly found in nature, generally found in the oil well or in some other place, that is natural gas is available, that needs some treatment, and after that, that can be used as an power, that is a fuel of power station, or either it may be used as an that is household gas for cooking, etc. Petroleum, that is crude oil, it is found, crude oil is found in the beneath of the earth and in ocean also. That is requiring, that is, we need to go for refinement, and various things, petrol, diesel, etc. we can get for and that has various uses. Diesels in somewhere, in some places, in some countries, used as a primary fuel for power generation, and the other things that are extensively used in petrol and diesels are used in cars, fuel, etc. And LPG is also found, and some other elements that is found, that is naphtha, etc., that has some industrial uses. Now going to the next page. Now commercial energy, we have to differentiate with the commercial energy and non-commercial energy. So in the earlier page that we have discussed about that primary energy, that primary energy sources are mostly converted in industrial utilities into secondary energy sources. For example, coal, oil, gas converted into steam and electricity. And this primary energy can also be used directly. Some energy sources have non-energy uses. For example, coal or natural gas can be used as a feedstock in fertilizer. Now, energy can be classified accordingly: commercial energy and non-commercial energy. Commercial energy, first of all, we will discuss about that commercial energy. The energy sources that are available in the market for a definite price are known as commercial energy. By far, the most important forms of commercial energy are electricity, coal, and refined petroleum products. Commercial energy forms the basics of industrial, agricultural, transport, and commercial development in the modern world. In the industrialized country, commercialized fuel are predominant source not only for economic production but also for many household tasks for general population. Now the examples of commercial energy: electricity, lignite, coal, oil, natural gas, etc. Non-commercial energy: the energy source that are not available in the commercial market for a price are classified as non-commercial energy. Non-commercial energy sources includes fuel such as firewoods, cattle dung, and agricultural waste, which are traditionally gathered and not bought at a price, used specially in the rural household. These are called traditional fuel. Non-commercial energy is often ignored in the energy accounting. Now the example, that is firewood, agro waste in rural area, solar energy for water heating, electricity generation for drying purpose, fishing and fruits, animal power for transport, lifting water for irrigation, animal power, crushing sugar cane, wind energy for lifting water and electricity generation. These are all the comes under the non-commercial energy. Now energy, nowadays it is very popular and extensive research are going on in this field, renewable energy. So energy can be classified accordingly, that is renewable and non-renewable energy. Renewable energy is the energy obtained from the source that are essentially inexhaustible. Examples of renewable sources includes solar power, wind power, geothermal energy, tidal power, hydroelectric power. The most important features of this renewable energy is that it can harness without release of harmful pollutant. Now non-renewable energy, that is conventional fuels such as coal, oil and gas, which are depleted with the time. Now global primary energy reserve. So we have non-renewable energy, although we are extensively using, that coal is estimated to be 9,84,453 million tons by the end of 2003. It is estimated that is coal is reserved. Now oil 1,147 billion barrels accordingly in 2003 estimation. Natural gas globally 176 trillion cubic meter in the end of 2003. Now it is estimated that world oil and gas reserve are estimated at just 45 years and 65 years respectively. Coal is likely to last a little over 200 years. So after this, due to this reason, the many researches are going on to develop the renewable energy sources, which are primarily the solar energy. Solar energy is the most readily available and free sources of energy since prehistoric time. It is estimated that solar energy equivalent to over 15,000 times the world annual commercial energy consumption. India receives solar energy in the region of 5 to 7 kilowatt hour per meter square for 300 to 330 days in a year. This energy is sufficient to set up 20 megawatt solar power plant per square kilometer land area. Solar energy can be utilized through two different routes as solar thermal routes and solar electric, or which is known as solar photovoltaic route. Solar thermal route uses the sun heat to produce hot water or air, cook food, drying materials, etc. And solar photovoltaic use sun's heat to produce electricity for lighting home and building, running motors, pump, electric appliance and lighting directly. In solar thermal route, solar energy can be converted into thermal energy with the help of solar collector and receivers known as solar thermal device. The solar thermal device also can be classified into three categories, that is low grade heating device up to a temperature of 100 degrees centigrade, medium grade heating device up to a temperature of 100 to 300 degrees centigrade, and high grade heating device above 300 degrees centigrade. Low grade solar thermal devices are used for solar water heater, air heater, solar cooker, solar dryer for domestic and industrial applications. Solar water heaters have two parts, that is a solar collector and a storage tank. And the most common collector is called flat plate collector. It consists of a thin flat rectangular box with a transparent cover that faces the sun. Mounted on the roof of the building or home, small tubes run through the box and carry the fluid, either water or other type of fluid such as antifreeze solution, that is to be heated. The tubes are attached to an absorber plate which is painted with the special coating to absorb heat. The heat builds up to in the collector, which passes through the fluid passing through the tubes, and an insulated storage tank holds the hot water. Now few industrial applications of the solar energy, that is hotels, in bathing, kitchen, washing, laundry application, etc. Dryers, textile industry, that is chemical and bulk drug units, etc. Wind energy is basically harnessing to wind power to produce electricity. The kinetic energy of the wind is converted to electrical energy when solar radiation enters the Earth atmosphere. Different regions of atmospheres are heated to different degree because of Earth curvature. This heating is higher at the equator and lowest at the poles. Since air tends to flow from warmer to colder region, this causes what we call wind, and it is this air flow that are harnessed in windmills and wind turbine to produce power. Wind power is not a new development at this power sector in the form of traditional windmills for grinding corns, pumping water, sailing ships have been used for many centuries. Now wind power is harnessed to generate electricity in a large scale with better technology. The basic wind energy conversion device is the wind turbine. Although various designs and configuration exist, these turbines are generally two types, that is vertical type and horizontal type. Now next is, that is very important, that is hydro energy. The hydro energy is very important things, and many parts in India where the that potential have an energy of these hydroelectric generations that are installed. So the principle of this hydro energy, that is the potential energy of falling water captured and converted to mechanical energy by water wheels, powered at start of the industrial revolution. So whenever sufficient head or change in elevation could be found in rivers, stream, where that a dam is built, water under pressure flows through a turbine, causing to spin. The turbine is connected to a generator which produces electricity. So in order to produce electricity, a hydroelectric system requires a location change in elevation or head at least 20 feet. In India, the potential of small hydropower is estimated about 10,000 megawatt, and a total of 183.45 megawatt small hydro project has been installed so far. It is the advantages of this hydroelectric power is that is non-polluting and does not involve setting up of large dams or problems of deforestation for a small hydropower generation, and submergence and reliability. The total estimated capacity, it is found that 10,000 megawatt. Now next is, that is tidal energy. So it is an indirect solar energy. Indirect solar energy, the head of water, in case of high tide, the head of water etc. can be passed through a dam, and during the low tide, that high head water is released through a turbine to generate the electricity. Biomass, it is an renewable energy resources derived from the carbonaceous waste of various humans and natural activities. It is derived for numerous resources, including the byproducts of wood industry, agricultural crops, raw material from the forest, household wastes, etc. Biomass does not add carbon dioxide to the atmosphere, as it absorbs the same amount of carbon in the growing as it releases when consumed as a fuel. It is advantage in this that it can be used to generate electricity with same equipment that is now being used for burning fossil fuel. Biomass is an important source of energy and most important fuel worldwide after coal, oil and natural gas. Bioenergy in the form of biogas, which is derived from biomass, is expected to become one of the key energy resources for global sustainable development. Biomass offer high energy efficiency through form of biogas than by direct burning. Now, this is the global primary energy consumption. As we can see, there is oil is significant one, and next come to natural gas and nuclear energy and hydroelectricity to some small extent, and coal is significant amount of coal that is also uses. The primary energy consumption for few developed and developing countries are shown here. It may seem that India is absolute prime energy consumption is the one of is 29th of the world, and much developed country, that is USA, Russian Federation, China, Japan, etc. are significant major consumer of the primary energy resources. Now come to the Indian energy scenario. In India, coal dominates the energy mix in India, contributing nearly 55% of the total primary energy production. Over the year, there has been a marked increase in the share of natural gas also, and it is estimated 13% in 1999. And in oil, the primary energy producer, that is 17% found during the same period. Energy supply. India is the 4th largest producer of coal and lignite in the world. So India has huge coal reserve, at least 84,396 million tons of proven recoverable reserve. This amount is nearly 8.6% of the total world reserves, and it may last more than 200 years at this current reserve to production ratio. In contrast, the world proven coal reserves are expected to be last only 190 years. Oil accounts for India, that is 36% of the total energy consumption. India today is one of the top 10 oil consumption country, but it produces only nearly 25% of its demand. The country's annual crude oil production is peaked about 32 million ton, as against current peak demand of about 110 million ton. In this current scenario, India's oil consumption by the end of 2020 is to be reaches about 160 million tons, of which domestic produce is only nearly 50 million tons. So now we need to pay an oil bill of roughly 50 to 70 billion dollars, assuming a weightage average price of $50 per barrel of crude. So it is estimated that is 1,30,000 crore of an oil is to be imported. India's majority of India, that is oil reserves, are that is in Krishna Godavari, in Bombay High, in Upper Assam, Kanbe, in this region. Natural gas is one of the energy resources that is extensively used. It accounts nearly 9% of energy consumption in this country. The current demand for natural gas is about 96 million cubic meter per day, as against available of 67 cubic meter. Now, electric energy supply. The national electric grid in India has an installed capacity of 370 gigawatt as of March 31st 2020 survey. So out of these, there is coal based electricity, that is nearly over 55%, large hydel power station nearly 12.3%, and including small hydropower plant 1.3%, wind power 10.2%, solar power 9.4%, biomass 2.7%, nuclear energy nearly 2%, and the other sources, that is gas, are from 6.7%. Next is energy needs for a growing economy. Economic growth is desirable for developing countries, and energy is essential for economic growth. However, the relation between economic growth and increased energy demand is not always straightforward, as we find. The per capita energy consumption in India is too low compared to the other developed countries. It will likely to grow with the growth in the economy, thus increasing the energy demand. The per capita consumption is only 4% of USA and 20% of the total world average. Now, with the increase in burning fuel, primary burning fuel, it has an impact in environment. The uses of energy resources in industry lead to environmental damage by polluting the atmosphere. Few examples of air pollutions are sulfur dioxide, nitrous oxide, carbon monoxide emissions, which is coming from power plant and furnaces. Chlorofluorocarbon etc. can release from refrigerator and refrigerant plant, in air conditioning system also. The chemical and fertilizer industries also produce toxic gases that is released to the atmosphere. Cement plants and power plants spew out not only the harmful gases and also the particulate matter also. The air pollution is the significant one, and a variety of air pollution have known or unexpected harmful effects on human health and environment. These air pollutions are basically the products of combustion of fossil fuel. Example: sulfur dioxide, nitrogen oxide, particulate matter, carbon monoxide, etc. Sulfur dioxide, as we know, it is a corrosive acidic gas which combines with water vapor in the atmosphere to produce acid rain. Both wet and dry depositions have been implicated in the damage and destruction of vegetation and in the degradation of soil, building material and water courses. Sulfur dioxide in ambient air also associated with asthma and chronic bronchitis. The principal source of this gas is the power station and industry burning fossil fuel. Next is nitrogen oxides are formed during high temperature combustion process from oxidation of nitrogen in the air or fuel. The principal source of nitrogen oxide is nitric oxide and nitrogen oxide, collectively known as NOx. NO and NO2 concentration are great in urban areas where traffic is heaviest. Other important sources are power station and industrial processes. Nitrogen oxide are released into atmosphere mainly in the form of nitrogen oxide, which is then readily oxidized to the nitrogen dioxide by reaction with ozone. Elevated level of NOx occurs urban environment under stable meteorological condition where the air masses is unable to dispense. Nitrogen dioxide has a variety of environmental and health impact. It irritates and respiratory system may damaged and may worsen asthma, increasing susceptible to infections. In the presence of sunlight, it reacts with the hydrocarbon to produce photochemical pollutants such as ozone. Nitrogen oxide combines with water vapor to form nitric acid. This nitric acid is in turn removed from the atmosphere by direct decomposition to the ground or transferred to the aqueous droplets, thereby contributing to acid depositions. Next is particulate matter. Airborne particulate matter varies widely in physical and chemical composition. The sources and particle sizes. PM10 particles, which is less than 10 micrometer, are of major current concern as they are small enough to penetrate deep into the lungs and so potentially pose significant health risk. In addition, they may carry surface absorbed lungs diseases compound, and larger particles meanwhile are not readily inhaled and are removed relatively efficiently from the air by settling. A major source of fine primary particles are combustion process, in particular diesel combustion, where transport of hot exhaust vapor into a cooler exhaust pipe can lead to a spontaneous nucleation of carbon particles before emission. Secondary particles are typically formed when low volatility products are generated into the atmosphere. Next is carbon monoxide is a toxic gas which is emitted into the atmosphere as a result of combustion process and forms oxidations of hydrocarbon and other organic compound. In urban areas, carbon monoxide is produced almost entirely 90% from the road traffic emission. Carbon monoxide at levels found in ambient air may reduce the oxygen carrying capacity of the blood. It survives the atmosphere for a period of approximately 1 month and finally get oxidized to carbon dioxide. Now, other type of air pollutant is ground level ozone. Unlike other primary pollutant mentioned above, it is not emitted directly into the atmosphere, but it is a secondary pollutant produced by the reaction between nitrogen dioxide, hydrocarbons and sunlight. Ozones can irritate the eyes and air passage, causing breathing difficulties and may increase susceptibility to infection. It is a highly reactive chemical capable of attacking surfaces, fabrics, rubber material. Ozone is also toxic to some crops, vegetation and tree. Whereas nitrogen dioxide participates in the formation of ozone, nitrogen oxide destroys ozone to form oxygen and nitrogen dioxide. For this reason, ozone levels are not as high in urban area. As the nitrogen oxide and hydrocarbons are transported out of urban area, the ozone destroying nitrogen oxide to nitrogen dioxide, which participate in ozone formation. Hydrocarbons, there are two main groups in the hydrocarbons for concern: volatile organic compound and polycyclic aromatic hydrocarbon. These are released in vehicle exhaust gases, either an unburned fuel or an combustion products. They are also emitted by the evaporation of solvents and motor fuel. Benzene is an aromatic volatile organic compound which is minor constituents of petrol, about 2% by its volume. The main sources of benzene in the atmosphere are distribution and combustion of petrol. Of this, combustion by petrol vehicles is single biggest sources. Butadiene, like benzene, is another harmful air pollutant which is emitted into the atmosphere primarily from the fuel combustion of petrol and diesel vehicle. Unlike benzene, however, it is not constituents of the fuel but is produced by the combustion of olefins. So these are all the air causes of air pollution, that is coming from the various sources of burning of fossil fuels in industry and in vehicles. The other things, that is that from the vehicles and industrial pollutant that comes, that is called heavy metals and lead, which also causes many damages to the atmosphere and health of the human beings. Particulate metals in air results from activities such as fossil fuel combustion, including vehicles, metal processing industries and waste generations also. These are currently no emission standards for metal other than lead. Lead is cumulatively poisonous to the central nervous system, particularly detrimental to the mental development of the children. And lead is most widely used in non-ferrous metal and has a large number of industrial applications. Its single largest industrial uses worldwide in the manufacture of batteries and also using paints, glaze, alloy, radiation shielding and tank lining and piping. As tetraethyl lead, it has been used for many years as an additive in petrol engine, which increases use of unleaded petrol. However, emission and concentration in air have reduced steadily in recent years as this tetraethyl lead with mixing with the petrol is banned nowadays. So due to these human activities, particularly the combustion of fossil fuel, had made blanket of greenhouse gases, which is the mixture of water vapor, carbon dioxide, methane, ozone, etc. around the Earth's thicker. The result increasing in global temperature is altering in complex webs of system that allows life to thrive on Earth, such as rainfall, wind pattern, ocean current and distribution of plants and animal species. Now, life on the earth made possible by the energy from sun, which arrives mainly in the form of visible lights. Around 30% of the sunlight is scattered back into the space by outer atmosphere, and a balance of 70% reaches in the earth's surface, which reflects it in the form of infrared radiation. The escape of slow moving infrared radiation is delayed by the greenhouse gases. A thicker blanket of greenhouse gases traps more infrared radiation and increase the earth's temperature, and which causes the increasing of earth temperature. Now these greenhouse gases makes up only 1% of the atmosphere, but they act as a blanket around the earth or like a glass roof of a greenhouse and keep the earth 30° warmer than it would be otherwise. Without greenhouse gases, earth would have been too cold to live. Human activities that are responsible for making greenhouse gases of these greenhouse gases layer thickness of emissions that are increasing, and so as the temperatures are also going to be increased in earth, so that causes many damages to the environment. As humans burning coal, oil, natural gas at a rate that is much faster than the rate at which the fossil fuels were created. This is the releasing of carbon stored into the fuels into the atmosphere and upsetting the carbon cycles. In the air, ocean and land, vegetation takes place. Currently, carbon dioxide level in the atmosphere are rising 10% every 20 years. Now the current evidence of the climate changes, that is cyclones, storm, hurricanes, are occurring more frequently, and floods and somewhere in droughts also are intense than before. This increases the extreme weather event cannot be explained explained away as a random event. This trends towards more powerful storms and hotter, longer dry periods in predicted by computer model. Warmer temperature mean greater evaporation, and the warmer atmosphere is able to hold more moisture, and hence there is more water aloft that can fall as an precipitation. Similarly, dry regions are prone to lose still more moisture if the water is hotter, and if the weather is hotter, and hence this lead to be more severe drought and dissatisfactions. So with the help of this part, thank you for watching these videos. Tomorrow next session we will discuss the topics of, that is, energy securities and etc.